Hi, welcome to the third episode of the Out of Office Club. Today, I want to talk a little bit more about how I started traveling and kind of what went well on those trips and what definitely did not go well to give you a better insight of, traveling not always being what it seems to be on the internet, and maybe give you some first ideas of how you could start traveling if you're thinking about it, but you don't really know where to start, or you might find it it's scary to start, especially if you want to travel by yourself. So for me, traveling by myself never was the issue. I will admit that. I was never very scared of having to do it alone. I think what I was more worried about was maybe not liking it. I know that might sound a bit strange, but I was 18. I didn't really know what to expect. I was still studying and I decided to take a gap year of my studies so that I could do something else. I just really had this feeling that after being in school for years, that I wanted to break. I wanted just 1 year where I could do literally anything else but study. So for me, that meant working a lot to save up money and then traveling for around 7 months. And the way I planned that, this was, well, 10 years ago. So there was no chat GPT to ask for some recommendations on what to do, where to go, how to do it. So what I did is I went to a travel agency, which I know right now might sound like something from the past, which I guess it is. But yeah, I went to a travel agency and I just kind of walked in and I told them, hey, I want to travel for 6 months. I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. Can you help me? And this really nice lady just kind of sat me down. And you always talk to someone who kind of been to the region you want to go to, or someone who's more of an overall traveler. So I spent kind of an afternoon with her going over, okay, do you want to go to Asia? I said, sounds great. Do you want to go to Africa? I was like, not on this trip. No. Okay, do you want to go to South America? I was like, no, I don't think so. So we went, okay, you want to stay in Europe? I was like, well, there are definitely some things I want to see in Europe. So together with her, we made a whole itinerary of where I was going to go. And it was packed. It was a lot of flights. I think I visited like 12 countries in those 6 months. Um, yeah, I was super excited, but still, I still had this idea of what if I don't like it? What if I now fly, I don't know, all the way to New Zealand just to get there and not actually enjoy it? So just before booking it and making it official, I bought I think it's called a Euro It's like a train ticket for Europe. So you get to do different kind of routes along Europe. And I did that for 3 weeks so that it was like an easy start, not immediately flying somewhere and booking this massive 6 month trip, but do a train from, was it? I think Amsterdam to Berlin. I think that was a couple hours. Because then, in case I didn't like it, I could just go back. I could not book the whole trip, save money, and find something else that fitted me better. So, my first step on that 3 week train trip was Berlin. And I took my train there. Um, Arrived, I think I got to my hostel, a very nice hostel in the city center with a bar underneath it as well. I, I was sitting there the first night. I was so nervous. I was so nervous. And I knew, okay, I now have to go and put myself out there and make friends. I mean, so far in life, you kind of make friends because you're in the same place. Like you study together, you go to school together, you live close by, your parents know each other. Like, I don't really consciously remember making friends. They just kind of happened when you're younger. So now I'm sitting there in my hostel room, so nervous. And then this guy walks in who looked really friendly. And the hostel gave us a little coin that you could spend at the bar for one free beer. So after 10 minutes of sitting there in silence, I just kind of mustered up the courage to say, hey, do you want to go for a beer? So that is kind of how I slowly overcame that. I don't know if that's like social anxiety or just, I don't know, me being nervous, but and that's how I made my first friend. And then we went to that bar together. We met other people from the hostel that were in the bar. And that's also when I realized this is actually so much easier than I thought it would be. Because in the end, all of those people, all of us, most of us, are there traveling alone and we want to make friends. We want to make a connection. So everyone's really open to it. Everyone's generally really friendly and wants to talk to you. Um, so once I realized that, I was like, this is pretty nice. We then immediately make plans to, I think, go on a walking tour the next day, 5 of us. And then before that week in Berlin was even over, I think it was on the third day, I called that travel agency and I was like, book it. Like, I'm going to do it. This is amazing. Like, I'm having such a good time. Even if there were days that I was alone or didn't have anyone to go out with because everyone was busy or booked a different tour or whatever it was, that was also the place where I was the first time I went out for dinner by myself. I remember very well. I went to an Italian restaurant because I thought that would be, I don't know, a safe bet. And I ordered lasagna and I sat there by myself thinking, what do I do? Um, and I was also nervous for that, which looking back, I'm like, it makes sense, but none of it's a big deal. No one cares that you're there alone. You just get to sit there. I just watched people. I scrolled on my phone a little bit. I had a notebook that I did a bit of drawing in. No one cares. No one even notices. But yeah, that was the first place I traveled to by myself, and it was 3 days. I was like, this is amazing. So then I booked that 6 month trip that I then went on, and I absolutely loved it. Definitely not everything went according to plan. It's something that I realized on that trip that I recommend anyone that goes and travels by themselves for the first time. Don't over plan it. The mistake I made for that 6 month trip is that I booked it and packed with flights, basically. I had a flight almost every week. Everything was set. There was no kind of flexibility in it. The biggest flexibility I had was that when I flew at some point from China to Thailand, I had a whole month to make it from Bangkok to Bali. That was the most flexibility I had. Everything else was kind of predetermined. I would stay a week there and then fly, and then stay a week there and then fly, and then have a month, for example, in Australia to make it along the coast, and then from there I fly. Everything was set. So there were places where I was at for a week or even longer where I realized very quickly there's or that not much to do, or I just don't like it so much, or maybe you meet someone and or a group of people and they're like, hey, we're gonna go here, do you want to come? And then you cannot because you've already got your flights, you already got your plans. Of course, it also took away a bit of my stress about the trip, and also meant I didn't have to plan as much. But the nice part about traveling alone is that you don't really need that plan, and that you can be so flexible and say, I like it, I want to stay, or I don't like it, I'm going to leave early. And you can't do that if everything's already pre-booked and arranged. So, of course, choose what fits you best. Maybe you are more of a planner and you like that more, but I highly recommend to just really live the experience and just go and see what happens. And that is right now also still the way I travel. I book a flight to whatever place I want to see, and that's it. Not a return flight, not a next flight, nothing. Because then I can decide when I get there. Um, Maybe I meet people that I want to travel with. I find out about a new place through someone else that I didn't know. Or I don't know, might want to stay longer. Like you never know. And that's the nice part about travel. So that's what I highly recommend. And I think um yeah, I think that was the main thing that I learned from traveling alone and doing such a big trip. Don't plan too much. See what happens. Enjoy it, and then go. Of course, not everything on that trip went to plan. I sometimes felt very lonely because um, you, of course, have an expectation of what it's going to be when you get to a certain place, but then maybe either that country or that city just doesn't really fit you, or you get to your hostel and it's empty, or you're on a trip and the people you're with you just don't really vibe with. I mean, that happens. But all of that you can deal with. You know, it's always temporary. You'll always find something to fix it, to make it work. Um, and then there were, of course, a lot of people still even that are like, "Oh, you're so brave for traveling alone." Now I know that traveling alone, especially as a woman, comes with risks. But I will say, my 10 years of traveling, I have not been in a very dangerous or scary situation. I've been fine. And I think that is part luck, part listening to your intuition. There's definitely been moments where I felt this isn't right. I need to get out of this situation. And of course, I don't know, I will never know if I was right in those situations, but I think it's very important to listen to that, to set your own kind of boundaries when traveling. When someone's like, "Oh, you should really come with us. We are going to do something fun." And I know that FOMO then comes up, but it's good to realize I am by myself in a foreign country. The only person who's going to take care of me here is me in the end, because I am not with friends that have known me for years. And of course, I want to assume the best of people and assume that they're going to help me. But in the end, you are on your own. You're not surrounded by close friends and family. In the end, regardless of how much you like those people, they are essentially still strangers because you might have met them like 2 days ago. Um, and again, most people, 99% of the people I've met while traveling have been amazing, but you only need that one person to ruin everything. And like I said, luckily I have had good experiences. I have been robbed once or twice, but that was always in a hostel where I would just come back to my room and my stuff was gone. Luckily, also never anything important. But that did happen. I also lost my passport once. I realized a day before that my visa was going to run out, so I had to leave the country. I was almost denied flights. I also missed a couple of flights. So, and all of these things happen when you travel, and they make it in some ways also fun. In the moment, incredibly stressful and definitely not fun. And all I wanted to do was just cry, but somehow it always works out. But that is something to keep in mind. But yeah, that's how I started traveling and why I still travel, because I still enjoy it a lot. Although I do travel now in a different way. I don't do hostels. I don't really backpack. I have a suitcase and I stay in one place, usually my own Airbnb for a month. But that is kind of how I went from poor 18-year-old backpacker with not a lot of money to digital nomad traveling full time. Still not with a lot of money, but at least traveling full time, which is really what I wanted to do. So, yeah, that is in short my first travel experience. If you want to know more about it, something specific, something that you find tough when you need to plan or think about solo traveling, definitely let me know. Or if you have any other digital nomad related questions, then leave me a comment. So if you liked this podcast, this content, don't forget to follow. I'm going to drop an episode every week. Sometimes it'll be more practical tips, sometimes more personal stories, or I'm going to just answer some questions depending. So follow along. And also don't forget to follow me on Instagram, because that's where I'll post most of my travel photos and other fun insights. So thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.